Okay. In segment 2 here, we're looking at we're looking at we're making a little fretboard here. It's kind of a way to explain shape fitting. So one thing in shape fitting that we want to do is to adjust for the tuning third. So from 5 to 7, 5, if 5 was the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the C, D, E, F, G. We have 5 is the G, and B is the 7. That's just a third. Okay? And then, so we would have to go up 1 to get a perfect fourth. So that's why we kind of moved everything up 1. All right. Well, let's see. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why we moved everything up 1 so we can, get that third. So when you tune the guitar, we have E, A, D, G, B, and B is the the seventh degree, and the key of C is B, right? And then back up to E. So that's one thing about shape fitting, is you have to adjust for the tuning warp. And the other thing about shape fitting is it's called the S2L. Okay, so we're looking up at the String Shape Fretboard, and each one of my diagrams will have, a general fretboard, so we can discuss general topics that aren't specific to like what's going on down here. But once again, it's just like looking at a piano keyboard. If you didn't have any of these letters here and they were just black notes, it'd be like, and these ones too would be also accidentals. It'd be like looking at a piano fretboard. So voila, it would be like looking at this particular diagram. It's kind of like a piano fretboard there. I can't even tell you exactly what it is, except to say it doesn't have the frets drawn on it. So why is there a big long note there? Well, because these are frets right here. These are individual frets right here. Okay, so this is an individual fret, this is and you notice they're getting bigger as you go to the left, because they have to, it has to, the wavelength of the string has to get longer. And this would be the fret nut, where things are off, the open string, and beyond this. But actually where these notes are is where that is. So this would be your fret nut, okay? And apparently this one is done in C. So this is actually the way my guitar is. Okay, so what's going on down there is this. It's upside down. It's upside down, but there it is. If we could get some lighting on it. Lighting. You see it's in yellow, but that's what that is. So it's past the fret nut down here. But this is what you'd be looking at, essentially, if you're just looking at like a piano guitar. It's too much. It's not organized in any way. The only way a guitar is organized is in frets, which is good. I mean, that's what makes the sound. But that's what we'd be looking at. So that's why my diagrams have flourished as, cage diagrams that can really, break it down into manageable segments where we can do cage bound arpeggios. You can arpeggiate into, across the fretboard if you want, anything like that. So we can get out of this diagram, and we're looking back over here. So you can see the only thing about this diagram that is specific, okay, it's all even shaped. It's even, the length of these frets is all the same, because So you assume that we're going to have, this would be the longest fret here. The fret nut would be right here, okay? And but it doesn't have to be. That's why it's not particularly drawn. It's drawn in this one right here. All right, it's actually drawn in this one right here. That's fine. That shouldn't bother us. But strictly speaking, that could be 3, 4, 5 anywhere. And as we spoke about in the lesson yesterday, 3, 4, 5 exists everywhere. 3, 4, 5's there. 3, 4, 5's there. So there's no reason to really, get too comfortable with the fret nut there, except to say that it's okay that it's there. We've got to, talk about the guitars in some way. We just don't have, the long 3, and then the, and then we don't have the actual length of the frets here, where they get short way up here and long down there, because it's just easier to discuss here. And this fretboard is also got the string shape labels on it. But other than that, this is more versatile than these ones are more specific. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. We were talking about string shapes, shape fitting. Okay, so looking back at the fretboard that we made, it would be the C shape right there. Okay, it's dusty in here. That's the C shape right there that we made. We brought this over so that we have the third in between the G and the B, if you want to call this the open fret. And this would be the first dot right here. So that's about shape fitting, where you would have the 7 root 2 would need to be warped over. The whole string, the whole 2 strings are warped over. So everything, every single relationship between, if you count the strings from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, every single relationship between the 4th string and the 5th string is affected by that tuning warp. So in other words, if this is a string, the whole thing is warped over. Okay, the way it is, if it was a giant pattern, when it started out as a giant pattern, it looked like this, right? We don't have to worry too much about lining them up, because the more of these things you line up, there's always, oh, this one's not lined up. Yeah, I know. And if I was making a permanent diagram, I'd have to go and adjust that one. But for the most part, this is the pattern diagram for the whole thing. So what I'm saying is, you're warping over the entire string. When you're tuning that guitar, you're changing the whole string. So the whole top 2 strings warp over together. Okay, and when you tune your guitar, we're looking at this now. So that's part of shape fitting. Okay, that's part of shape fitting. From, as opposed to the P4 tuning with the patterns here. So we don't want to spend too much time on this, because I always do this every single lesson. The other part of shape fitting, once again, is where to put the 5, 6. Otherwise, everything else stacks up. 3, 4, 5 goes right into 6, 7 root, goes right into 2, 3, 4. Where do we put the 5, 6? We'll talk about that in a second. And then from there, 7 root 2 goes right into 3, 4, 5 once again. But wait a minute. What happened over here? Why is this warped over like that? Guess what? That was wrong. Okay, that was almost a blooper. What had happened is I didn't go back far enough and put the pattern back the way it was. So what we're looking at here is lining up 7 root 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to start this in the next segment. Trust me. We got about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll talk about how the 5